Well, hello, good afternoon everybody. Welcome back. Jiu-Jitsu 2000 here today. I'm back and I hope you guys are doing wonderful. Today I have an interesting video for you. I am going to be comparing a couple lights in this video. So starting off here on the left, I have the Thrunite. This is the Catapult V6 SST70, and on the right here I have the Olight. This is model M2R Pro Warrior. Now Thrunite asked me to do this comparison, and I felt that comparing a heavyweight to a middleweight was just not adequate. I felt like these lights were not a good match to compare against each other. I feel like they're in different weight classes. So I am going to add a third light to this comparison. Right here in the middle we have the Olight Warrior X Turbo. So I'm going to compare these three lights together in this video. So I'm going to go down a list of things and we'll talk about it. And I'm going to be very honest with you guys about how I feel and what my opinions are on these lights. So getting started, let's talk about the price. We're going to be talking about the Thrunite. You can pick this light up for around $75. Now if you look at the Warrior X Turbo, you're looking at $140. And if you want to find the M2R Pro Warrior, you're looking at around $110. Let's start off by talking about the lowest setting of a light. Okay, so whether it's moonlight mode over here or firefly mode over here. If we look at the Thrunite, it has a firefly mode of 0.3 lumens, and that will last 70 days. That is fantastic. Now the Turbo does not have a firefly mode, but the M2R Pro Warrior does. It has 1 lumen and it'll last 50 days. Now if I had to pick one as far as what lowest setting I prefer the most, I would probably have to say that the M2R Pro Warrior has a better firefly mode. I think that what they've done with 1 lumen is extremely effective. Very, very nice firefly mode. Now, I can't argue that having an additional 20 days of firefly on the Thrunite is exceptional. So I guess the big question comes down to, do you want to have a little bit more light on your firefly at 50 days, or do you want something a little dimmer but 20 more days? So that really is up to you, but me personally, I like the firefly mode or the moonlight mode of the M2R Pro Warrior. Now let's talk about low. If we look at the Thrunite, we have a low setting of 31 lumens. This will last 86 hours or 3.5 days. Now if you look at the Warrior X Turbo, it has a low of 150 lumens, so quite a bit brighter, and it'll give us 12.5 hours of run time. Now if we come over here to the M2R Pro Warrior, we're looking at 15 lumens. This will last 130 hours or 5.4 days. So my personal opinion, I like the M2R Pro Warrior on low. Now medium, we're looking at 270 lumens for 9 hours, which is very respectable. But the mode spacing is a little bit wide. That gap is far. So you went from 31 on low to 270 on medium. That's just too far of mode spacing for me. If you look at the Turbo, there is no medium. But when you come over to the M2R Pro Warrior, there's actually 2 mediums. Okay, so the mode spacing is good. You have a 60 lumen medium, which lasts 40 hours. That's 1.6 days. Then you have a second medium, which is 250 lumens. That'll last 10 hours. So that's just remarkable. So in my opinion, when I have to pick one of these 3 lights, as far as medium, I have to go with the M2R Pro Warrior. I just think that it has better mode spacing and the run times are significant. Now if we look at high and we come back to the Thrunite, we have a high of 1417 lumens. That's 102 minutes of runtime. That's 1.7 hours. So that's very good. The Turbo does not have a high mode, okay? So we're just going to skip right on over to the M2R Pro Warrior. And high on this one is 750 lumens. That'll last 200 minutes or 3.3 hours. So again, the question comes down to, do you want something a little brighter or do you want something that's going to last longer? So me personally, I would choose the 750 lumens of high that'll last 3.3 hours. So now let's talk about turbo. This is where we're going to start to see some interesting things. Now turbo on the Thrunite is 2836 lumens. That's fantastic. That'll last for 220 seconds or 3.6 minutes. And then to prevent the light from overheating, it will drop down to 1313 lumens for 89 minutes. That's 1.48 hours. Now if you look at the Warrior X Turbo, we have 1100 lumens for 6.5 minutes. And then it has several step downs after that. And then if we look at the M2R Pro Warrior, we have a turbo of 1800 lumens for 4.5 minutes, and then it has a couple step downs. So my personal opinion on turbo, I like the Thrunite here. 1.48 hours of runtime, and it does have, like I said, 3.6 minutes of 2836 lumens. Now if you want to talk about SOS, none of these lights have SOS. So that leads us to strobe. On the Thrunite, they give you 1120 lumens of strobe for 210 minutes or 3.5 hours. That's very significant. The Warrior X Turbo does not have a strobe, but the M2R Pro Warrior does. Now on the M2R, they don't really specify how long or what lumen level that strobe is. It does work very well, but I have to go with Thrunite on the strobe. I just think 3.5 hours of strobe and then them telling us that it's 1120 lumens of strobe, I think that's impressive. So now let's talk about the throw, the distance of throw of these lights. We have 692 meters of throw out of the Thrunite, 1,000 meters of throw out of the Olight, and the M2R Pro Warrior has 300 meters of throw. So personally, when it comes to throw, I've got to go with the Warrior X Turbo. The throw of 1,000 meters is just fantastic. And what's really cool about that is they can achieve that with only using 1100 lumens. So fantastic. The lens on this thing is just beautiful. So now let's talk about the candela ratings of these lights. We have on the Thrunite 120,000 candela. And on the Olight Warrior X Turbo, we have 250,000 candela. And then the M2R Pro Warrior, 22,400 candela. So when it comes to candela, I've got to go with the Warrior X Turbo. It just kills the competition on candela ratings. Now impact resistant, all three of these lights are exactly the same. They're impact resistant down to 1.5 meters, so it's a wash there. And the same applies to the IPX8 waterproof standard that all three of these lights have. They're waterproof down to IPX8 down to 2 meters. Now what I will say is I choose the Olights over the Thrunite on the IPX8 rating, even though they're rated at the same. That's because on the Thrunite they have a rubber thing here. They have a rubber charging port cover that has to be in place for you to have that IPX8 waterproof standard. So personally, I don't like that. I would rather it be like these Thrunites and be able to be IPX8 no matter what, no matter when. So making sure that a rubber is in place just is a turnoff for me personally. So now let's talk about the weight of the light. The Thrunite without the battery is 203 grams. The Olight is 294 grams. So the winner of the weight category is the M2R Pro Warrior at 179 grams. Now the dimensions of the light, we have 138 millimeters tall, 58 millimeters at the diameter of the lens, and 33.5 millimeters in diameter at the body of the light. Now the Warrior X Turbo has 157 millimeters long. It's a little bit longer, and the lens diameter is the exact same. It's 58 millimeters, and then the body of the light is 26.2. So when we look at the M2R Pro Warrior, we're dealing with 136 millimeters by 29 millimeters right here at the widest point, and then 26.2 at the body. So when it comes to size, I like the size of the M2R Pro Warrior. Now let's talk about the batteries for these lights real quick. Let's talk about the Thrunite here for a second. The Thrunite operates on a lithium-ion rechargeable battery. This is a 26650 battery. This is a standard battery. It runs at 5,000 milliamp hour. If you put an adapter in this light, you can also run an 18650 battery. So this is a very versatile light as far as the batteries are concerned. Now when you talk about the Warrior X Turbo and the M2R Pro Warrior, they both operate on a proprietary 21700 battery operating at 5,000 milliamp hour. So when you talk about the batteries, all three of these lights have the same amp hour rating of the battery, but I gotta go with the Thrunite because it gives me the ability to run two different batteries, and aftermarket ones at that. So I gotta go with Thrunite on that one. Now charging the lights, let's talk about the Thrunite. They did upgrade the charging from micro USB to USB-C, so I really like that. But I have to go with these Olights because on the tail cap switches here, we have magnetic charging, and that's just fantastic. You can plug that into any USB source and charge these lights. So I would say it's a wash between the Olights, but I definitely pick them over the Thrunite on charging. Now if you want to talk about the switches of these lights, the Thrunite has a single switch. This turns the light on and off, and it also cycles through the modes, and this is a very durable switch. You can see on the center of the switch there is a power level indicator. We'll talk about that a little bit more here in a minute. Now when you look at the Warrior X Turbo, it also has a stainless steel tail cap switch. The M2R Pro Warrior has a stainless steel tail cap switch, but it also has on the side of the light here, it's got a rubber mode switch. Okay, so when it comes to switches, I personally don't like rubber. I like things that are stainless steel that are going to hold up. So I would have to go with the Warrior X Turbo and the Thrunite Catapult V6 SST70. So these two I think win in the category of switches. I haven't had any problems with the M2R Pro Warrior switch, the rubber one, but anytime you're dealing with rubber, I'm expecting something to fail because I'm very rough on my lights. So now we want to talk about power level indicators. On the Thrunite, they have in the center, it's basically going to be lit up blue when you're good to go and red when you're dying. On the Warrior X Turbo, it has a vibration feature that will let you know once your battery's getting low. And on the M2R Pro Warrior, I think this one wins the category of power level indicator because on the center of the switch, you have different colors. You'll have green telling you you're good, and then you'll have orange, and then eventually red. So it's kind of like traffic lights, green, yellow, red, basically. It's very easy to understand, so I gotta go with the M2R Pro Warrior on that. Now let's talk about magnets. The Thrunite does not have a tail cap magnet at all. Both of the Olights have magnets, so I would say that they win in that category. Now the lenses of the lights, if you look at the Thrunite and the Warrior X Turbo, they both have very nice glass lenses with smooth reflectors. Okay, so that's what gives them that very long throw that they have. But when you look at the M2R Pro Warrior, it has a TIR optic lens, so it's like a plastic kind of material. I haven't had any problem with any of these lenses, but my personal opinion, I would have to go with the TIR optic lens. I think that's just a little tougher. Glass can unfortunately break, but you're not going to break plastic. It's just very, very durable. Now the next category is weapon mounting options. Can you mount the Thrunite to a weapon? As far as I know, no, you can't. But you can mount the Warrior X Turbo as well as the M2R Pro Warrior to a weapon. Now, I would have to choose the Warrior X Turbo as far as winning this category of being able to mount to a weapon over the Thrunite and obviously over the M2R Pro Warrior. The reason I do that is because on the tail cap switch here, they've made this change and they've got this little thing here, and it's very similar to the Olight Odin. This locks into place and it has a magnetic switch that you can lock in, and it's very, very solid. This one works very well also, but it does not have that locking mechanism. So I would definitely choose these two over the Thrunite, and absolutely without a doubt the Warrior X Turbo right there. That thing is fantastic. Now, when we talk about the bezel of the lights, do they have a strike bezel? The Thrunite does not have a strike bezel. The Warrior X Turbo and the M2R Pro Warrior both have a strike bezel. So if I have to pick one of the three as far as self-defense type application, I would choose the M2R Pro Warrior. It has the best strike bezel that I know of. Now, all three of these lights have the ability to attach a lanyard, so it's a wash there. Now, when you want to talk about pocket clip, the Thrunite does not have the option to have a pocket clip. And as you can see, the Warrior X Turbo does have a pocket clip, and so does the M2R Pro Warrior. But if I have to choose one of these three in relation to pocket clip, I would definitely choose the M2R Pro Warrior pocket clip because it's dual direction. It's very, very effective. It also sits really low in your pants, so it's a very, very good option. Okay, now I'm going to take all three of these lights and I'm going to put them on their brightest settings, and I'm going to shine them at the wall so you can get a look at the lens. So let me start with the Thrunite. That's the Thrunite. That's on the brightest setting. That's on turbo. So very nice. Now here is the Olight Warrior X Turbo. Now I'm bringing in the Thrunite. So you can see that the one on the right, the Warrior X Turbo, has a tighter hotspot, but the Thrunite has a really good balanced beam too. It's got a bigger hotspot, but the Thrunite's going to put out more flood, even though it's a spotty kind of light. The Olight's going to put out more throw. So now, if you look at the M2R Pro Warrior, that's what it looks like. It's a big beam, and you get 300 meters of throw with that. I really like this, especially if it's mounted on a weapon. It's a very good profile for that beam. That beam pattern is fantastic on this one. So now, let's go between the M2R Pro Warrior and the Thrunite Catapult V6. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these on their lowest settings. So I got Moonlight mode here on the Olight and Firefly on the Thrunite. So if we look at the wall, and I'm going to turn this overhead light off so we can get a little bit of darkness here so we can see things. So right now you're looking at the Thrunite on the lowest setting. Okay, that again lasts 70 days. That is fantastic. Now if I bring the Olight in to the same distance, you're getting 1 lumen for 50 hours. So when it comes to the Moonlight mode or the Firefly mode, I think I would honestly choose the Olight. And then when I start backing away at the same distance and I start moving things around, you can see that things start to kind of disappear. Got the Thrunite here and I got the Olight here. So the Olight definitely has a larger pattern, even though the Thrunite is a little tighter. So they're both fantastic though, the lowest settings. 70 days is just awesome, and 50 days of very usable light is fantastic too. So they both do a very good job. Look at that. So that's about all I have today for you guys on these videos comparing these three lights. They are all fantastic lights. The beam patterns are awesome. I hope you got some good useful information out of this video. Please feel free to leave your comments down below, like this video, share this video, and until next time folks, thanks for watching. I hope you have a beautiful day. We'll see you next time. Bye for now. The price point winner is clearly the Thrunite.